All right, breaking news. These are live pictures of tens of thousands of Iranians on the streets of Tehran. This is after the United States killed Iran's most powerful military and intelligence leader in an airstrike near the airport in Baghdad in Iraq. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who was on with us just moments ago, said the attack was carried out to thwart some kind of an imminent attack by Iran against the United States. Joining us now is CNN's chief international anchor, Christian Amanpour. Christian, the secretary would not go into details, and obviously those details matter here. The American people, particularly after the Iraq War in 2003, do not trust the idea that there was an imminent threat unless we see exactly what it was. He won't tell us what it was. He said that might be coming. What do you see going on here?
Well, I think it's going to be very hard to expect the administration to suddenly deliver all this information. I think what was more interesting was what he said to you. And it was quite, in my view, somewhat conflicting. Was it this just about security? Right. Or was it about trying to have a regime change in Iran, get the Iraqis to throw the Iranians out there and all the rest of it? Was it both? And that also leads to the next question. What is the strategy? And I think that that's the most important question that we have going forward. It is absolutely clear that Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Quds Force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, was, as we've all been saying all morning since this happened, the second, if not the most important person in Iran, who was the major arm of Iran's foreign policy abroad, and who has networks and tentacles and huge influence across that region. Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, you name it. Qasem Soleimani's footprint, his handprints are all over that place. He was so well known and in some quarters beloved in that region that they are going to have to take some kind of action. As one expert said to me, maybe draw some blood in response. How? We don't know. We've been watching and listening to those massive live demonstrations and tape demonstrations inside Tehran. We have to wait to see what happens around places like Iraq, Lebanon, and etc. But what they're already saying, because I'm trying to listen to the words of the speakers underneath, is this was the pride of Islam, and we have to avenge his death. And they've used the word jihad and other such things. So the question is really, honestly and truthfully, what is the strategy? Mm-hmm. Is this going to be an accidental slouch into a war in the Middle East? Or are all parties, not just the United States, which has said that they want to de-escalate, but all the leaders of the Shiite Islamic factions, which are backed by Iran in that region, not to mention Iran itself, are they going to try to de-escalate this? And yes, Qasem Soleimani is and does have the blood of many Americans on his hands from what happened in Iraq in the early days of the U.S. war there. But also remember that Qasem Soleimani was the only person with his militias who stood between ISIS and Baghdad when ISIS took over a lot of Iraq back in 2014. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very mixed bag and a mixed picture, and it's really hard to see which way this is going right now.
Christian, give us the global perspective on where this leaves America this morning and our allies, because Benjamin Netanyahu, fully supportive of Israel, fully behind the U.S. on this. But France, the French government this morning says the world is now a more dangerous place.
Well, you know, you heard Secretary Pompeo say to John that the French are wrong. I mean, he categorically said that. Remember that on the eve of the Iraq war, the U.S. invasion of Iraq in March of 2003, then President Chirac said the United States was going to open a can of worms, and France did not go along with this action and wanted more time to figure out what exactly was the intelligence with the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And President Chirac was proved right. I think the French have a huge history in that region. So do the British, so do many other people who not only have a history and a diplomatic history, but also have people and personnel in the region. So that is going to be, again, something to watch, because as everybody has said, it's unlikely that Iran would take on the United States in any effort at symmetrical warfare. It's very, very unlikely. It hasn't happened in the past. It's unlikely to happen now. But the asymmetrical, the ability to lash out in many parts of that region is clear and present. And it is the reason, or at least one of the main reasons, why successive US presidents, from George W. Bush to Barack Obama and up until now President Trump, have not taken this massive escalatory step. And remember, Qasem Soleimani was at the height of his power when he was taken out. Unlike Osama bin Laden, who was a forgotten, nothing burger, sort of hiding in a, villa in Pakistan. But it's not the person you take out, it's what they leave behind and the tentacles and who comes next. Al-Qaeda terrorism did not end with the sidelining of Osama bin Laden. ISIS has not ended with the killing of al-Baghdadi. So if you're trying to end whatever's happening, this is a major escalation, and we need to see what the plan is.
Also, another note, obviously, Soleimani, for better or for worse, and this isn't a value judgment, he was a government official. That's what differentiates him from bin Laden as well. So you were killing a government official with this, and that has different implications. Christian, we have to let you go in about 20 seconds. The U.S. relationship with Iraq, the Iraqi Prime Minister Abdul al-Mahdi condemned this action. It's a violation of the U.S. agreement to station troops in Iraq. What will this do to the U.S. presence there?
Well, overnight, the U.S. missile attacks on the Al-Khatib, the Hezbollah Al-Khatib base, changed the U.S.-Iraq relationship. Iraq suddenly went, and this is what experts are telling me, from, demonstrating against Iranian presence and others to demonstrating against the United States. Did the United States expect its embassy in Iraq, one of the most guarded embassies in the world, to be breached by pro-Iranian militias in Baghdad? Did the United States expect that when it retaliated for the killing of that American contractor? And now the government of Iraq is under massive pressure. We'll see how it plays out and whether these Shiite militias, whether it's Muqtada al-Sadr in Iraq, whether it's Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah in Lebanon, what is the pressure from the streets? And of course, what will Iran do? I mean, the idea of Iran wanting now to do that famous photo op that President Trump wanted back in September at the UN, it's over. They're talking about revenge now. And so we just simply don't know what's going to happen. And remember, the French are saying it's more dangerous because Emmanuel Macron was the mediator between President Trump and Hassan Rouhani, trying to get that relationship back on track. But the US have gone from maximum economic pressure to now military action.
Christiane Amanpour, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you very much.
Such an important voice. Christiane, thank you.